Hi there, welcome back to Japan and to our reaction and review to Beast by Alexandros. As always, this is the review video. If you want to see the reaction that I just recorded, then pause this video, click the little link in the description below, opens up a separate little YouTube player where you can see that just in case you haven't heard the song before, if you just want to see how I reacted when I first heard it. Now, if you are ready, I will give you the review. So remember, pause this and click that link if you want to see the reaction first, because here comes my review of the song. Spoilers. Anyway, so anyone who's been following this channel for a while will know that although we had to restart the channel obviously halfway through last year, so this has kind of been erased in that sense, Alexandros is a bit of a strange tradition for this channel. We've reviewed two songs by them first of all. One was the very first one we reviewed after coming over onto YouTube, and the other song was one that we reviewed basically after doing the end of year awards last year. So basically we start every year with Alexandros for some reason that I don't know. That's the only time we ever review them, but they seem to deliver some really good stuff, so maybe I should be reviewing more of them. But anyway, beginning of year 3, third song by Alexandros we're checking out, and that song obviously being Beast. I was interested to see where this goes. I mean, like I said, the last song we heard by them was Watari Dori, I think it was. We mentioned that a couple of times in the award show, actually, the end of year awards for last year. It's incredibly catchy, really good song, really love the tone of it, just feels good, you know, really uplifting but kind of also sentimental song at the same time. And the song we heard before that had a sort of a like an orchestral rocky kind of, it felt very almost theatrical. It was very very impactful. So this one, just from the name you could tell it was going in a rocky direction, but where this went was quite interesting. It went for one of those sounds that I would say, some would say that this sounds thinner than other rock songs, but I would actually say that it has more of a bite. There is this whole theory, and this applies to so much in music, that if you do anything turned up to 11 too much, then it loses its impact, as with anything. It's like a Michael Bay film. If things are constantly exploding, then nothing has any impact, because you know, your threshold is set to a constant level of everything being at maximum. So there is this also applies just for with so many things. It applies for doing something which is heavy as well. And what I was really interested with this is, like I say, this didn't have that sort of big, thick, roaring guitar sound that you would usually associate with something, you know, a song called Beast, and a sort of rocky, angry riffs, and like I said, a slight Motorhead vibe towards the end as well. But what worked is that the guitar instead was very cutting. It was more that it had a sort of bite. It had a really nice sort of snarly tone, but it was kind of mixed quite thin. So it was very precise. It felt dynamic. It felt like it moved quickly. It felt, you know, it felt like a sort of like a featherweight boxer moving quickly rather than a sort of lumbering, huge sumo wrestler coming into the ring to. Although sumo wrestlers move very fast. But you get my point. It felt very sort of on its toes. And that to me worked a lot because it had two effects. First of all, it made room for the drums, which were really, to me, the life and soul of this song. It made room for them both to be heard, to have their impact through the EQ, you know, to have a lot of room in the bassier elements to really sort of thump. But also it gave room that you could hear them clearly. You could hear that sort of wonderful sort of shuffling beat that was going on there. And this is the interesting thing. The guitar work was, for the best part, I mean, it was really well played and there were some interesting bits, but it was more about getting a really cool riff, some cool chord patterns, and just nailing something quite simple. So it was a very catchy, very sort of headbangy, loopy sort of guitar line a lot of the time, which was perfect. It made it something which kind of you could really sort of slip into, and you could just sort of, it could go around forever. I could listen to that riff over and over again. And the drums were doing all the complicated kinetic stuff. You know, it was interesting because there was a juxtaposition, like I say, between the sort of simple but very biting guitar line and the very quick shuffling drum line. But overall, the whole song, the whole effect you got from the whole thing was something very dynamic, and even the vocal delivery was quite fast. You know, it was quite a catchy chorus, but the words were moving quite quickly. Imagine if you wanted to sing along to that, you'd need to be, again, on your toes. The whole thing, like I say, very kinetic, very dynamic feeling. So, did this work? Well, in my opinion, yes, it worked fantastically. It pinned the mood that it wanted to go for. A lot like the other two songs we heard by Alexandros, in fact. It knew what mood it wanted to go for, and it really went for it in a very purposeful way. It didn't feel half-hearted. It didn't feel like it, although you could hear essences and elements of sort of a lot of other things. You know, I'm thinking a lot of sort of 70s rock bands as well, and you know, a bit of prog as well. But you could hear like keys and things from different musical references that were coming up in this song. Overall, it felt like they'd very much not so much ripped off any style as just really knew how they wanted to do this song. So for me, it felt charging. It felt, like I said, it felt dynamic. It just felt really lively. It felt heavy and lively. And it is the fact that, to me, this song that didn't really have any particularly heavy tones in it felt more sort of hardcore, more rock than a lot of metal. This to me felt more, you know, it's hard to say because the words were almost a contradiction. This felt more, I want to say this felt more rock than a lot of metal does. I mean, of course, you think metal, you think heavier. But when I say rock, I mean as in, you know, sort of hardcore. You know, this felt like it was more intense. This felt like this was more serious, more powerful than a lot of metal, which just relies on loud sounds. Again, nothing against metal. There's some really good metal that works through being loud and intense when it needs to be. But to me, this just, had the bite in the right places. I'm repeating a lot of points here, but I hope that makes sense. A credit again to the singer. The singer is not like it doesn't seem to ever be going for like powerful vocal delivery so much as very precise vocal delivery. Again, actually similar in tone. The vocal delivery was good. I like the way the vocal delivery came across. I thought it was nice and... I think, so but basically all of a sudden, again, repeating some points, the more I think about this, the more I think that actually, for as different as everything was, the core values of the song, this is what happens when you do your review immediately after having heard the song, you know, as direct reaction. The core values of all of the things that were good about this song basically come down to the same thing, which is sort of an effortless speed of movement. A special credit, though, like I say, for the fact that they did manage to... It wasn't just like a funky riff with a good tone. They managed to write in some good chord progression. As I say, I like the way that there's that sort of cadence, that ending to the chorus, which is really nice. The way it builds up, it goes through and gives a sort of questioning tone at the end, which is always making you ready for it to conclude when it comes back into the next bit, which is usually the riff. There was that really lovely ending crescendo where, like I say, it went a bit Motorhead. Very purposeful arrangement as well. You know, it wasn't just about sort of repeating a riff, repeating a groove. It was about building up the mood through the chord pattern, through the melody. Good melody on it also. I would say that this isn't the catchiest song ever. It's one of those ones where I would be surprised if you got this so much stuck in your head. But I think it is so good at what it does, so good at being that charging rock song, about being that light-footed sort of piece of borderline prog hardcore rock, that I think it's one where I definitely would come back to it. If I wanted to listen to something, if I wanted a real sort of power boost, if I wanted an energy drink of a song, then this is something I would go through to listening to quite quickly. So this would find its way onto a playlist very well, more than it would find its way into your memory as a catchy song. Great single. I certainly would say this is one I'd recommend, and one that I'm sure I'll come back to and listen to again. Really interested if anyone can tell me. Vocal delivery was way too fast for me to pick up any sizable amount of the lyrics, so if anyone can tell me what it was about, because the video was kind of interesting. I was kind of intrigued when they did that bit where he starts with a politician. I was like, where's this going? And then he goes around to his family life, and then he's looking at himself on the screen being declared as a liar. I thought, this is interesting. Are they... probably not. Rock bands rarely do, but I was like, are they playing the side of, is the band standing up for politicians here? That would be that's something you wouldn't hear in most Western countries, but perfectly plausible. They could be sympathising with politicians, or it could be against politicians. I don't know, because at the end, his wife looks really tired of him. Anyway, I don't know. I get the feeling from what I picked up that it's probably a little bit of a... it's doing the sort of Western thing of standing up against corruption, but I don't know. So I'm really interested to know what you guys think. It was also particularly funny because in Japan, obviously Japan's famous for having a lot of political things, like a sort of revolving door of prime ministers until the whole Abe thing, he was around for a while, but otherwise a revolving door of prime ministers. But as a general, you don't think of it as being quite as tumultuous as the Western politics. So it's always interesting when you see anything political in like political songs in Japan. You think, interesting. You people would be really angry if you were in America. So anyway, so there you go. There's my thoughts on the song. Really looking forward to seeing what you guys think. As always, get in the comments. Tell me what you think. Give us a little bit of an idea of why you think what you think. Opinions are always welcome, especially if you can justify them. It makes it really interesting to discuss it with you guys. You know, all the YouTubey stuff, liking, subscribing, greatly appreciated. It really does help us for a non-monetized channel. Remember, we've got a lot of music communities linked in the description below. The Reddit and the Discord are always great places, so get in there as well if you can. And a big thank you to our patrons as always. We're into a new year and you guys keep this whole thing afloat, so gracias, massive appreciation to you. And thanks for making it through to the end of the video. So until I see you hopefully soon in Japan for the next one of these, for now, ciao, ciao.